Tonight we are going to be remaking Vapiano's Scampi Spinache. Sip your champagne, you know that's the start. Then you take a half of an onion and you are going to rinse it off, and then you're going to slice it and then dice the individual slices that you cut up. I like to dice it really small because it's going into a pasta and nobody wants to bite down on big hunks of onions in their pasta and their scampi. And when they're smaller like this, they tend to permeate the flavor of the sauce better than if they're in big old massive chunks. This is a Poblano pepper, and I am just dicing this up into little circular, again, nipple-sized rounds. These are the shrimp. I don't know if any of you guys have been to Ruth Crisp's Steakhouse, but they have these firecracker shrimp that I love, and they're sliced like this. When you slice them this way and then saute them, the pieces that I'm showing you tend to curl up and create a nice look for the shrimp instead of just cooking them the way that they are or butterflying them. So cut those mother suckers into a snake tongue. Now we're gonna chop the tomatoes. These are pretty easy, you just cut them in half. I used about half of a container of these because I didn't need the whole container, being that I was halving them. Got a little gut there. Now it's time to open your chicken pack. Of course, you're going to rinse your chicken off with whatever temperature water you prefer, whether it be warm, cold, or hot. Again, I'm using hot water. That's what I always use. Last piece, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. Boom! Now you're just gonna wanna slice your chicken breast. I don't even know what size you call these pieces, but you can see what I'm doing, so just cut them like that. And of course, you're gonna make sure you wanna get off those slimy, disgusting, uncalled for white pieces that are always attached to the chicken that no one can ever figure out what they are. Now you're just gonna boil a half a box of the noodles that you choose to use. It's time to start building this pasta. You're going to first start off with a little bit of olive olé in the bottom of the pan. That's extra virgin olive olé. Add your chicken breast. You put those in first. I like to put things in the order that they cook. So the chicken takes the longest to cook. So that's what you're gonna put in first. Seasoning, I'm adding a little salt, pepper, and I use garlic powder. I kept it simple just because I wanted it to be reminiscent to the dish that I have at Vapiano's. If y'all don't know what Vapiano's is, they cook the pasta in front of you kind of like Chipotle style. So you tell them what you want in it and they do it, and their seasoning is pretty basic. They use salt and pepper pretty much, and I'm adding garlic powder just because I have it, but they don't really have a lot of seasoning there. The food is still good, but of course, if I have the extra seasoning, I'm gonna add it. Next, I add in the shrimp when the chicken is about halfway to almost finished, and I let that cook up as well. Back to what I was saying about putting things in because they cook at different temperatures and take different times. That's a mistake that a lot of people make. They put everything in at one time, or they put things in too close together and things cook at different temperatures. So at the end of when they're finished cooking everything tends to cook together and taste like mush. And I just don't, when I'm doing pastas, I don't like everything being mushy or overcooked. You have to make sure that you're cooking things at the right temperature and for the right amount of time so that your dish comes out well. I keep adjusting the heat because I'm using a gas stove, and sometimes things cook different, and this is a Dutch oven that I'm using to cook in, so the temperature kind of fluctuates within that, so that's why I keep adjusting the heat. Next, I'm gonna add in the onions and the Poblano peppers that I diced up and stir those into the mixture. Now I'm about to add something else that wasn't in the recipe, but I like my food spicy, so I couldn't resist. I just add a little dash of cayenne pepper just for heat. Red pepper flakes too. Mix those in with at this point you have your onions, your shrimp, your chicken, and your poblano peppers with your extra virgin olive oil. Here's the fun part. We're about to add in about 1.5 teaspoons of minced garlic. You can find this in your grocery store. It's already diced up, and you just stir that in as well. Wine. We're using a dry white wine. I like to use Pinot Grigio. All Scampis include some type of lemon base and white wine base, so that's where the wine comes into play. Vapiano's is a little bit different because they use an Alfredo sauce with the white wine, and that's what I'm adding in now. I just used, I don't even know how much I used. I just drizzled it around a little bit in there until it looked like it was the right amount. I'm not really big on measuring because everybody likes things a different way, so I measure and put things in the amounts that I like them in, and I'm really good with like eyeing that. So yeah, you just do it the way you want it. If you like saucy, do a lot of sauce. If you don't like as much sauce, then don't put as much in. That's simple. Now we're gonna add the spinach in. That's gonna be in right before the tomatoes. Spinach wilts quickly in pasta dishes. That's why you add that last. If you would have put this in from the beginning, it would have completely turned into absolutely nothing by the time you were finishing the whole dish. The tomatoes, you don't really want, you just want those slightly heated up because those will turn into mush as well. That's why that is the last thing you add. So we're just melting the spinach down. You see how easily that wilted into the sauce for the pasta. You're gonna rinse your noodles off with warm water. Warm water makes them more pliable and easier to move around. Then I'm taking 2 tablespoons of this Prego basil pesto and adding it into the dish. Stir it in. Look at that steam. Oh my, Then you add your noodles that you rinsed in warm water. You mix those in, and the last thing that you're gonna put in is your tomatoes, and you are going to put just a little bit of finely shredded Parmigiano cheese. I added a tablespoon of roasted garlic marinara sauce just to give it a little more flavor and give it like a rosy type color. You don't have to put this in there, but I like tomato sauce, which is why I added it to mine. Last thing is the tomatoes. Stir everything together. Then you're going to get your Parmesan cheese and just sprinkle that on top. I don't like a lot of cheese because that cheese melts in with the sauce and makes the sauce too thick, and I'm more of a thin sauce person. So there you have it. There is my Scampi Spinache from Vapiano.